الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون. Translation. On account of this, we prescribed for the children of Israel that whatsoever killed a person, unless it be for killing a person or for creating disorder in the land, it shall be as if he had killed all mankind. And whose give life to one, it shall be as if he had given life to all mankind. And our messengers came to them with clear signs. Yet, even after that, many of them commit excesses in the land. Thank you.
Next, I will request the president of our Virginia chapter, Mr. Tariq Amjad, to come and give us a few welcome remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Greetings of peace on all of you. On behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, Central Virginia, I welcome all of you and especially our guests. We have gathered here today to offer prayers for the victims of two incidents which happened around the globe. And as you will hear from our respected Imam, these unfortunate events are happening, and we all need to get together and pray for the safety of mankind. Because as our Supreme Head has pointed out so many times, the world is heading towards destruction at a very fast pace, and all these incidents are becoming more of an exaggeration to that state. So I humbly request all of you to please continue praying for the mankind, especially Ahmadis who are living in different parts of the world and are going through persecution, and safety of all other people who these are targets of these unfortunate incidents. So with that, I welcome you all, and please enjoy the refreshments after the program, and then we will be offering prayers at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Amjad. Next, I will invite our keynote speaker, our Imam Rizwan Khan, to address us on the unfortunate incidents that have taken place in Brussels as well as in Lahore, Pakistan.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Groups that are terroristic in their ideologies are spreading a message that divides people. And ISIS is a group that claims to be gathered under a caliphate, which is a true representation of Islam, God forbid. However, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community has been established under a khilafat for over 100 years. And the Khalifa of Islam and the head of the International Ahmadiyya Muslim Community addressed a peace symposium a couple of weeks ago, wherein he emphasized the need for spreading a message of peace throughout the world. And he pointed out one of the negative aspects that terrorist attacks have, aside from the direct and obvious loss and the tragic loss of life. And that other loss is the division that is created in society, the way in which violence and hate, Islamophobia, or xenophobia, whatever it is something that is the center of the world's attention. And that awareness that we have of hate among us is something that unconsciously has an effect on each and every one of us. Now, whether we are aware of it or not, but it is something that is naturally and very gradually creating division in society. It is creating division among us. We are observing it in the world. Every time a terrorist attack happens, there is a new wave of ignorance, a new wave of fear, and a new wave of blanketed statements and persecution of minorities that happen across the world. The reason these things happen is because the very purpose of terrorism is to create terror in society, is to make us fearful of one another, fearful of our neighbors, fearful of people who are our fellow citizens and fellow humans. And so, this unfortunately is one of the great negative effects that terrorism has on our society and all of us. And so this is one of the reasons why it is very important, and it is our responsibility, to respond to terrorist attacks with inclusiveness by removing that fear. As ordinary citizens, it's not within our capacity to respond to terrorism from the perspective of security, from the perspective of a military perspective. We can't go out there and attack and retaliate against terrorists. And we have a very limited capacity in how we can take preventative measures. We are not a part of law enforcement. But one thing that we can do, and all of us can do, is to reach out to our neighbors, to reach out to those people who perhaps are becoming afraid of us, perhaps have heard rumors about us and are becoming averse and apprehensive to our presence in their communities, in their countries, and remind them that we are fellow Americans, we are fellow citizens, and that all of us are a collective part of the United States of America. And so, one of our purposes in holding this interfaith prayer is to bring together people of different faiths and bring together people of different demographics in the hope that when we come together and shake one another's hands and meet one another, have conversations with one another, and also when we pray together, then we break religious barriers, cultural barriers, racial barriers, any kind of barrier that could be a means of creating fear and terror and division amongst ourselves. So this is why it is extremely important that to counter that wave of misunderstanding and distance and fear that happens after a terrorist attack, that we also have programs and efforts to spread the message of peace and understanding and mutual brother and sisterhood. Another important thing on having this interfaith prayer, particularly not just about the Brussels attack, but also the attack in Lahore and other attacks that are happening around the world, is to recognize the equality of all human life. One of the points that was mentioned in the verse of the Holy Quran that was just recited was that to take a human life is like taking the life of all of mankind, and to give life is like giving life to all of mankind. This is a principle of justice that the Holy Quran has taught Muslims, but it is a principle that the people of all religions can come together on. The reason it's important to remember after these terrorist attacks is because there is a difference in the way that we sometimes perceive human life, and it has to do with the perception of how we take terror, how we respond to terror. When there are attacks that happen in Muslim countries, in Syria, in Iraq, in Turkey, or in Lahore in Pakistan, we observe that the response, the international response that happens is far less when it comes to outrage, when it comes to praying, when it comes to the dignity of that human life, the value of that human life. But when we see similar and perhaps equal attacks happening in places like Brussels or Paris or any other place in the West, then there's a far more strong reaction. We have to ask ourselves, why is it that that happens? What is the reason behind it? There are many reasons, but one could be a simple and selfish reason that we have on a basic human level, which is that when a terrorist attack happens in a country that is similar to the country we are living in, then it challenges our sense of security. When we see that Paris can be attacked or Brussels can be attacked, then we think that perhaps Washington, D.C. can be attacked. Perhaps Virginia can be attacked. It hits closer to home. But when we see that Iraq, Baghdad, Damascus, Lahore, some other place has been attacked, then since we don't have that same sense of familiarity on a social level with that place, then it does not challenge that sense of security that we have. We assume it is very different, very far away, and it is not something that is as related to challenging our sense of security as individuals. And so this is one of the reasons why there can be a difference in the reaction that people show to these different types of terrorist attacks. And so also one of the reasons why we are holding this interfaith prayer service, not just about any particular terrorist attack, but the Brussels attack, the Lahore attack, and also the attacks that have happened in Baghdad and the places, the other cities around the world where terrorist attacks have been happening recently, is to remember that all human life is sacred. Each human life that has been taken away by terrorists is a loss to humanity. Some terrorist attacks create greater terror in our hearts. And in some places, terrorists are more effective in terrorizing us as a population. But still that human life is equally valuable. And so our coming together to pray for and to honor those lives lost and all of those lives lost is an extremely important principle in establishing justice in the world and also establishing the value of the human lives that we lose in these different types of tragic events. And so we have come together in this event to counteract the terror that has been being created in our society by trying to promote understanding, and also to establish a principle of the Holy Quran, which is justice. And through justice, when we honor all lives that are lost, then we can extend a branch of love towards those countries and those peoples that have been victimized for years under violence. And we can share in their struggle and we can share in their pain. And in that way we can create understanding and take away that alienization that exists in the world, which unfortunately terrorists capitalize on to recruit extremists among populations who are marginalized and feel that there is no one to represent them and no one to care for the value of their lives. And so our hope by holding this interfaith event and similar interfaith events across the country is to counter the terror that terrorists seek to create and to bridge the divides that happen, unfortunately, as a natural result of terror that is allowed to fester in our society. So may Allah Almighty make this purpose something that is fruitful and may the negative and nefarious intents of terrorists be counteracted by our mutual understanding and our mutual love and the principles that have made our country great in the first place.
I think Furlan has just stepped outside, so next item on the agenda is questions and answers. Anyone has any question about this interfaith prayer or any other question related to what happened in Paris, in Brussels and in Lahore, you can ask.
Maybe Bobby can stand next to you.
Yeah. Well, that could be a question first.
So when you mentioned in your address that we're not as, we don't feel as much of a pain when there's attack in somewhere else. But it looks like isn't it all done by the media itself? Whatever it wants to focus, it focuses, and wherever it's not allowed to focus, it won't focus. And that's what penetrates in the public as well.
So the question is on, the sort of disproportional coverage that we see often in the media when it comes to various terrorist attacks. And it has a lot to do with the population to whom the media is appealing. So it is natural that, whatever business a person is running, they're going to naturally be inclined towards the interest of their customers. The customer is always right, which is a motto for any successful business that tries to attract and maintain its clientele. And so the selling of news is also a business, and there is a commodity that is being exchanged there. It is our attention in exchange for the story and the perspective that is being sold. Now, this is one point that the Khalifa of Islam, Huzur Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz, emphasized in his address, which is that the media carries a moral responsibility. Yes, it is true that ratings give a conflict of interest. They create a conflict of interest between what is important and what should be said as opposed to what people want to hear. And it is true that a person's business to a degree may suffer when they stand by their principles rather than what on a business level makes sense to them. But still, Huzur emphasized that we cannot deny the fact that the media has a huge impact on public opinion. And it affects the way in which people perceive the world around them. And recognizing that great power that the media has to affect public opinion, it carries a public responsibility with it as well. And so the media is not simply a business, although it is a business. But since it has that impact on society, it carries a responsibility which has to outweigh that commercial interest which they have. And so this is what Huzur emphasized, that the media should also approach their responsibility with a sense of gravity and to try and counteract that negative message which they have to report with also a positive message. It's natural that the media has to report those negative things that are happening in the world, but to understand that that negative message creates division in society. And so along with it, to present a proportional positive message which creates reconciliation in society. And so in that way, information is presented to their customers. But at the same time, mutual understanding is something that can be promoted. And so information and understanding is simultaneously promoted. And so this is one aspect of the responsibility of media that the Khalifa of Islam emphasized in his address.
Thank you, Imam Saab. I would also like to give an opportunity to any of our guests who may want to say a few words. Now is a good time. We have, just to let everybody know, as part of the program at 7:33, the members of our community, some of the members of our community have kept fast, so they will break fast at that time. Everyone is welcome to partake in the refreshments, after which we will head upstairs for Salat. So if anyone wishes to say anything about what they've heard, now is a good time. Otherwise, I would request our Imam to lead us in silent prayer, especially for the victims of these terrorist attacks that are just taking place. Okay, Imam, so would you lead us in silent prayer?
Please join in silent prayer. Amen.
Yeah, so we have, I think, about 10 minutes. I think the Afghani time is 7:33. So,
9 minutes, 8
9 minutes.